The Biden administration is trying to show that it's on top of skyrocketing gas prices. In a letter to 7 oil companies yesterday, Mr. Biden said, quote, "Your companies need to work with my administration to bring forward concrete, near-term solutions." The letter comes as gas prices are around $2 higher today than they were a year ago. That's according to the AAA. SVP of Policy, Economics, and Regulatory Affairs at the American Petroleum Institute, Frank Macchiarola, joins us now. Hi, Frank. Thanks for being with us. We appreciate it. So in a statement,
thanks for having me on.
Sure. In a statement responding to the president, the American Petroleum Institute president, Mike Summers, called Mr. Biden's approach, quote, misguided. So what do you think the administration has gotten wrong on their approach to this issue?
Sure. First off, inflation's at a 40-year high. Gas prices at the national average have reached over $5. A lot of that has to do with supply and demand dynamics and the pandemic and the imbalance between supply and demand. But some of that has to do with policy. From their first day in office, the Biden administration has shut down access to oil and gas production on federal lands. They've canceled pipeline projects. They've increased taxes on domestic producers that are competing globally. And so some of this lays at the doorstep of this administration.
On that note, however, I mean, the president has taken some heat from domestic oil producers who are saying basically, why are you talking to Venezuela and Saudi Arabia? He's obviously going there for a trip this summer, and not increasing oil production domestically, as you say. But what would that actually take to increase domestically oil production here? I mean, that seems like a further off goal that wouldn't really alleviate prices right now.
Well, the first thing that it takes is the administration promoting and advancing oil and natural gas production right here in the United States. So scrap those policies that I mentioned earlier and incentivize more American production. Instead of going to visit Riyadh, visit the oil and gas producers in the Permian Basin in Texas or in the Bakken in North Dakota. Visit the refineries in Louisiana. Stand with the men and women in the American oil and gas industry who are producing energy that's affordable, reliable, and abundant for the American people. It's critical for our energy security. Canceling pipeline projects, that harms America's energy security. That causes these high prices that we've seen. And so they really need a policy shift out of this administration.
And how responsible are oil companies for some of this as well? I mean, the administration, Democrats on Capitol Hill have been saying that, there's price gouging going on, that they could help bring down some of these prices. What do you say to that argument?
Well, the Federal Trade Commission has looked into this allegation of price gouging several times over several years. They've never found it to be true. What they found is that the primary source of price of gasoline is the price of crude oil, which is traded on a global basis. And that's basically driven by fundamentals of supply and demand. As I noted, we had a strong demand surge coming out of the pandemic. Supplies have not kept pace. Policies, talking about investment in other sources of energy, moving away from oil and gas, all these factors have had an impact. But what we need out of the administration is support for a long-term policy that promotes energy production here in the United States, that promotes the development of energy infrastructure to get energy from where it's produced to where it's needed. We need an administration that promotes and advances American energy. Look, we had a shale revolution here in the United States over 10 years that made America energy secure. It doubled our production in oil and natural gas here in the United States. It made us independent from foreign sources that we've been relying on for so many years. The administration needs to return to that type of policy that strengthens U.S. energy security.
As we've been talking, we've been showing photos of the price of gas, $6, $7 a gallon in some places. So I think Americans want to know, besides all the politics, besides the policy, when can we actually expect prices to come back down? When can we expect that?
Well, look, we can't estimate prices, but what we can say is that when the fundamentals return, when supply and demand are rebalanced, we'll see some relief at the pump. And, we're starting to see production come back here in the United States. And that's an important point. For the first time in June, for the first time since April of 2020, we're producing more than 12 million barrels per day in the United States. The Permian Basin, our largest source of oil, is at near record level of production. We've increased rig count by more than 200 oil rigs year over year during this year. And so you are starting to see supplies come back. But again, we've had surging demand coming out of COVID, and it will take some time for those things to balance.
Surging demand, especially ahead of summer vacation time. Frank Macchiarola, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it.
Thank you.